Welcome, everyone, to another edition of the Wrestling Underground podcast. I had a tweet all typed out, and I accidentally closed the damn tab that it was in, and now it's gone. Sweet. I am your host, as always, Chad Porto, and joining me is the glorious one himself, Marcus Green. Marcus, how are you?
Good. You feel like such a failure in life when you accidentally X out a tab, specifically when you got like 10 tabs up.
Jesus,
Uh,
it's like you can see my screen. So yeah, now I had to retype all that. It's not like a lot. It's just trying to remember what the fuck I put in here, and then trying to navigate not having too much dead air whilst doing it. That's always the issue. All right, here we go. Not word for word, but it's good enough. So we got a smorgasbord of content this week. Not really. It's not quite that deep, but we got enough. So let's start with the simple fact of what we're not talking about this week. We're not talking about Overdrive, right? That's the name of the damn show.
hmm
Some of their names, just I wish they would go back to the old like 2004, 2005, 6, 7 schedule names. Because like those, you had Final Resolution, Against All Odds, Destination X, Lockdown, Sacrifice, Slammiversary, Victory Road, Hard Justice, No Surrender, Bound for Glory, Genesis, and Turning Point.
and they still do some of those that just like larger themed regular weekly shows, right?
Yeah, they're taping specials. Like they'll
But to be
they'll be like
fair,
it's No Surrender on the 25th and 26th with the Impact tapings.
yeah, but they really just had they really did have now that you went through them like that, they really did have a great lineup of name shows
Mm-hmm.
that are just
Now we
like I said,
have No Surrender, and what's the one Hard to Kill? Like that one's
not
okay.
yeah, hard to kill, no surrender. I was finna say one's justice. No, this is not my hero. Um, no surrender, hard to kill. Uh, like I said, this is Overdrive. They stayed. Thankfully, they kept Destination X, Slammiversary, and Bound for Glory. Um,
I don't know the last time they did a Destination X though. Let's see. Back 2022 pay per views. Because like one of them is really dumb, just the worst. Let's see. 2022 Rebellion. There it is. That one's terrible. That
you talking about
one's
just
just the
the
worst.
rebellion?
Yeah, that one's terrible. Then we have Hard to Kill. That's going to be in January. Main event's already set. It's Bully Ray versus Josh Alexander. That's pretty predictable. Um, so we're going to talk about that next week. We're also going to talk about the return of the Elite next week, specifically Kenny Omega, and more on the drama. I'm working on something. I want to make sure all my ducks are in a row before we start talking about some stuff. Mostly because I feel like let's not be stupid and kick a hornet's nest that doesn't need to be kicked, at least not without the proper protection. So we'll talk about more about that next week. But this week we're talking Full Gear. I caught some of it. I skipped some of it. I ignored the rest of it. So pre-show matches, we had 3 of them. The Best Friends with Trent Beretta, Chuck Taylor, Orange Cassidy, Rocky Romero, and the Danhausen took on QT Marshall, Aaron Solo, Lee Johnson, Nick Camaroto, and Cole Crater. We got to see very evil and very evil Danhausen. No nice, just evil. And he put on a little bit of a clinic, showed that he is a very proficient technical wrestler. I would never say he's going to be someone that is going to make you think he's the next one of Brian Danielson or Dean Malenko, but he's solid in the ring, very solid. And because of his character, you don't always see it, but we got to see it here against the factory, and I liked it. I thought that was one of the more impressive parts on the show. But then again, I'm a huge fan of Housen, so
Uh, um, yeah, the kid's good. Good kid.
Good kid. That's high praise from Marcus. Speaking of good kids, we had an AEW title eliminator. Ricky Starks defeated Brian Cage with Prince Nana in the corner. Um, we both like Ricky Starks. He was one of the highlights of the early NWA days.
Mhm.
But I think you agreed with me last time that we don't necessarily see him with having a very high ceiling. He has a very high floor. Always going to be someone you want to have around. But I feel like if you're talking about main events, I feel like the only way you get him there is if you put him in a tag team that's successful with somebody that he pairs off very nicely with. I don't see him being a world championship caliber guy. And too many times, and we talked about this before as well, the idea that everyone should have a turn with the belt. Oh, so and so never had a turn with the belt. I think Ricky Starks is one of those guys that has no business being with the belt. Then again, one of those guys, MJF, just won the belt. So it's like, I don't know. AEW fans are easily pleased. So, like, maybe Ricky Starks could be a world champion. Not a very good one. But, we'll find out. Marcus, Starks win. Any thoughts?
No, like I mean, look, one way or another, even as big and athletic as he is, some kind of way, I think part of his current wrestling narrative was been feeling like a lot of his wrestling narrative over the years has been, somebody as big as Cage always coming up on the short end of the stick. Um, but I just think it's more momentum and more story narrative to go with Starks. I mean, you've seen him be built up. Obviously he had his thing with Hobbs and getting past that, and now he beat Cage. And obviously, like you said, he's a smaller guy, but he's somebody that you love to watch. Got a lot of charisma, bang on the mic. Got a lot of intangibles that a lot of people have to grow into, or unfortunately sometimes never get. For me, I kind of just wanted to switch certain things up with his arsenal. Like I said, his finishes that Rochambeau, but it's just like it could be a hassle, and obviously he can hit it. But to me, it's like that Weapon X move that Cage got.
Mm.
Like it's impactful, but it's a hassle to try to do. Like for Starks, I feel like it's something else he could come up with that makes more sense for him being a smaller guy as opposed to him like having to try to muscle up guys all the time with that Rochambeau, um, which I know is a favorite of his, but I think going to the place that he's trying to go, particularly in the World Championship match, like we see with guys like Jericho and others, expanding that arsenal is where you're gonna have to do honestly to kind of get to that level. Like you said, if they put it on guys like MJF, which well, I guess we'll get to, but yeah, this Starks is definitely somebody you bank on. Though.
MJF stands for mid jobber fantastic. Speaking of fantastic, Eddie Kingston took on Jun Akiyama. Ortiz was in Kingston's corner. I don't know, has Ortiz been hanging around with Kingston on screen lately?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, that's like his. I mean, that's basically like his new Santana. Uh, unfortunately, sucks what happened with LAX, man, because we was there when they was thriving in Impact, but that's how things go sometimes. But yeah, that's his good friend, his good buddy. I guess and he like that in real life. So yeah, he's been definitely by his side, and apparently Kingston asked for this match and wanted to honor some of the Japanese legends with it. And they had a hell of a time.
Listen, you change when you see a 12-year-old get run over in a hit and run on Impact TV. You're never the same. So I'm not surprised. Do you remember the kid's name? Diego? Frank?
It was either Diego or Juan.
I feel like
Always a Juan.
it was like Peter, but with an IETR, or like it was like a Jan.
Definitely wasn't Peter. There's only one Peter with the IETR, and it's not a child. Oh.
No, no, she's not. Speaking of people who aren't children, Jungle Boy Jack Perry took on Luchasaurus in a cage match and got the win. Jungle
Yeah.
Boy post match said he's no longer going to be just Jungle Boy. He's going to be Jack Perry Jungle Boy, or Jungle Boy Jack Perry. To which I say, drop the Perry. I know it's your surname, it's your father, and you want to honor him. I get that. But Jungle Boy Jack just sounds like a pro wrestler. Jungle Boy Jack Perry sounds like a failed rapper. Man, have you heard Jungle Boy Jack Perry's new hit? No, no one has. He's terrible. Trying to even call it a hit.
Because it almost comes off like you tried to come up with a really good name in case your talent couldn't back you.
It's like it feels like one of those scenes out of like the Austin Powers movie where like Doctor Eve was like $1 million. Like, no, we could get a lot more. Oh, we can. I feel like you could do a lot better than Jungle Boy Jack Perry, my friend.
I love how Chad's like a newer version of number two. It's like that's it. I'm like you couldn't ask for such and such. I mean, there's Bitcoin now. What is Bitcoin number two? Like you didn't read your email. I sent you a whole PDF. Like it just
See,
no,
then
no, nobody gave me the freaking email.
the funny thing is, I would not recommend Bitcoin in this scenario.
Uh,
I would recommend copper, gold, and any of the finite metals because those will never depreciate or devalue.
I know I did not get the freaking email. Then he looks over at the chick. Somebody get an email.
She was great. What, Frau something or
Yeah,
other.
yeah, that's it. Frau. Somebody get an email. Like that's hilarious. Like it's such a simple thing she was doing, but it never got old, and that's hard to do.
She's a great actress. She's been in a bunch of stuff I've watched. So anytime she's on TV, I know I'm going to get a treat. But yeah, one, lasers on sharks are always a good idea. Two, saw blade teeth on sharks, an even better idea. Three, combining a shark with a mammal to give it legs, an even better idea. Four, fuck sharks. Why aren't we just using crocodiles and alligators? I mean, like, what the fuck?
Uh,
Like, they
uh,
have stronger bite radiuses. They're far more agitated. They're far more bloodthirsty.
the
They
way
don't
you
need
just,
lasers.
the way you just completely came out of the shark closet as somebody who clearly watched Street Sharks.
I mean, street sharks is awesome. Let's be honest. But street gators or street crocodiles, I don't know which one's bigger. I think crocodiles are. No, I think alligators are. Whatever. The bigger of the two, as a street animal,
Hmm.
terrifying. Because like in the street sharks, it was their fins causing the street to go crack. By the by, I don't remember what city they're in, but the mayor of that city fucking hates those dudes. Like every 3 days, they're having to put down like new streets.
Yeah, because I forgot that's how they travel. They be chewing up the. Oh my God, I'd hate them too.
Yeah.
It's different. It's different than the SWAT cats. They just that guy was just that mayor was lame, and oftentimes it was the police chief that had to come in and kind of be the smart guy. Because it was like, I do not want the street cats here in Mega Cat City. Like, it was a
That's a
small.
Marcus. That is a great voice.
Thanks. But yeah, I forgot because we haven't seen that show. That show ain't been on in years, man. But that is how those street shows used to travel. They used to just chew through the streets. And now I'm thinking about it, I'm like, how did they? And then I'm like, didn't they get vehicles or something like the turtles did?
Well, yeah, because you had to sell them as toys.
Yeah. Then obviously it made like it's like this they'd never be able to get anywhere else because the streets will be towed up. But yeah, that city budget must be like a big middle finger to that mayor.
Right.
Jesus.
So yeah, so like the street sharks, they use their fin to cut through the streets, but the crocodile sharks or the street crocs, as we're calling them, would just chomp their way through the street. Far more terrifying.
Yeah, or oh man, people will be suing the city because the sewer tops will be falling on people at random.
I mean, speaking of random, the elite came back. We got a huge FCM Punk chant. No, what did you call it? F Cinnamon chant.
Cinnamon. I'm like, yo, man, I thought y'all loved the dude. You have to show up for us to love you. Like, oh well,
Pretty much. But we're going to talk about the fickleness of AEW fans. Not so much the AEW fans. 'Cause, it's wrestling fans. Wrestling fans are fickle.
yeah, they kind of remind me of comic book fans, but
I mean,
I don't know
they're
what.
adjacent. They're cousins.
Yeah, I don't know which one it comes off more entitled, and you definitely can't try to judge that on Twitter because it's just a cesspool of nothingness. But for those two crowds anyway. But yeah, them facing off against the Death Triangle, which is becoming an interesting little thing because Pac is having a very I guess someone call it toxic effect on the Lucha Bros in terms of how they get their wins.
Well, I think AEW has a toxic effect on them because Pentagon is a fucking mid-tier triple team jobber. Cool. Remember when he was a headlining act? That was the coolest thing in wrestling. I remember. So does Pepperidge Farms.
Chad's like, you say zero fear, I say zero relevancy.
So it's Penta L Zero Miedo.
Yeah.
But really, it should have been Penta L Zero Fucks Given. Because I have none for you. You
Oh,
are a disappointment. You are a disappointment to your mother and I. You're a disappointment to the cows. You're a disappointment to the Greek gods of old. You're a disappointment to the one Disney animator that still thinks you're cool.
I said good day, sir. Oh, but yeah, it's one of those things, man. Going back thinking about those glory days in Lucha Underground where it's like as soon as he beats somebody, like roll your dumb ass out of the ring before he breaks you.
Well, at least when you went to a Lucha Underground show, you were guaranteed an arm as a souvenir because he
Oh
was going to
man.
break it off and then beat you to death with it. So, any thoughts on the Death Triangle versus the Elite?
Look, I think that's look. You're not gonna find matches like that uh, better executed to that level of difficulty. All six of those guys are pros, and like I said, you it feels like you've seen one, you've seen them all, but it kind of never gets old because it's kind of hard to fathom that they pull that stuff off in the sequences that they do and not come off like 20 minutes worth of botches. So it's definitely a spectacle to watch. And like I said, I am enjoying the fact that Pac is having this adverse effect on the Lucha Bros. And obviously, the whole plan, I would imagine, is to get those trios belts back on the Elite. But I am glad that they just have them come back on first night and then take the belts off them. So but I mean, and to your point, and some other people like they finna run this in a best of seven.
I don't need a
Yeah,
best of seven. I don't need a best of three. I don't need 20 minutes. I don't need the Elite at all.
uh,
So long, Avitasen, something, something, farewell. And get the fuck off my screen.
it's like you're not as good as you was in Japan, and nothing about you two bastards are young.
Yeah, listen, you guys both look like the 1970s creepos that would stand outside of the vans talking to 15-year-old girls at high schools. Hey, I just detailed my van. You want to take a ride in it? No, Max and Jeremy Buck, we don't. Fuck off. Creeps. The only thing running away from these people are their fucking hairlines. God was
Oh,
not God. They may be devout Christians, but God was not kind to these people because they look like funguses with a dead hairline. So I just heard of the greatest insult ever. It was from a black YouTuber, and Marcus, when he said it, I stalled in my mid breath, and I just thought to myself, "My God, it's so original, so unassuming, and so mean." The insult is, "You have an easy to draw face."
oh, oh, that's hella creative. I was thinking of one a couple of weeks back. The hurl at a chick, telling her like yeah, you have like real shitty joy. Like you have bad joy. Your joy is horrendous. But yeah, that you have an easy to draw face. Like you can't even sit with that to think about it too long before you swing on somebody because it just feels like the right thing. Easy to draw face. Like
Yeah,
oh
it's a great way to
yeah.
say you're unremarkable. I get it. Really is. I was proud to hear that. So, and that's how I want the Bucks to feel. They have easy to draw faces, mostly because their hairline is already so far back.
Oh man.
The TBS Championships next. Jade Cargill defeated Nyla Rose. The one thing I'm getting a lot of is a lot of people are not impressed with Jade Cargill. Do you think it's time to take the belt off her, pull the push back, let her work on her craft, and then put the belt on somebody else?
No, you said it. I like Jade. I think we talked about it. She got the body of a Greek goddess. She has everything Bianca has except the in ring.
Yeah, Bianca's
Um,
so much more smooth than
yeah,
Jade. And like
yeah,
the thing is, like neither have amateur wrestling experience, but Bianca moves like she does.
yeah,
Like she knows how to bend her knees. She knows how to go from angle to angle. Like one of the things I love about amateur wrestlers that transitions to pros, especially like with Kurt, that double knee transition where they would like pop around to the back, like always great. And Bianca does something similar, and I always found that very impressive because it's not easy to do. Like to have that much liquidity in your movement, that fluidness
yeah,
is hard. It's so hard.
yeah.
And
We've
Jay
had
doesn't have anything. Like if Bianca's water, Jade's the glass it's in.
Yeah, Jay. Jay a lot of times comes off like somebody put square wheels on a wagon.
Jade
Um,
comes off as a squared wagon that's missing a wheel and also the base where you
she
put things in.
she looks phenomenal, but a lot of it comes off as plotting, and for the most part, she's power moves, some strikes, but it really comes down to like a pump kick and the glam slam. Um, and that's kind of it. That's really the narrative of her matches. Um, and it gets old after a while. And you can, obviously like I said, she's got the look, the walk, the talk, all of it. When she gets in that ring, it's just too copy and paste predictable. So to your point, I do think you could put it on somebody else and kind of have her develop in some way. Maybe go off screen for a little while, come back, maybe different mindset, different type of thing or something. But it's just getting too old hat. It's just getting too old hat in the ring. And I'm somebody that wants that girl to succeed because I just think we don't get, you know, people like her to come through, particularly in the women's side, as regular as we probably like. But she has to, like you said, you use the key word is smooth. There's nothing smooth about it, you know.
She would work in this kind of stiff, stifled motion as a face because I feel like when you have like the big impact moves, kind of like Goldberg.
Yeah,
Goldberg did have that transitional fluidity, but he wasn't somebody who ever put it all together in a lot of his matches. Like against Regal, like I remember him actually doing a lot of actual wrestling. But if he wasn't against someone like Regal, he often would just throw kicks, power moves, power slams, body slams, spear jackhammer. Like very unoriginal. But it worked because he was a dude who just rolled through people, and you were supposed to like him. But with Jade, I feel like because of her move set, because of the fact that she's so damn imposing, like I don't think there's a woman on the roster as tall as her. And there are very few women who weigh as much of her, if not way more than her. I think Nyla Rose might be the only woman on the roster that actually outweighs her. And when you have someone who just definitively looks like she's going to be the problem in every situation, you can't just keep booking her the same way. Like you got to be different. Like there's a reason why some of John Cena's best matches are him getting his ass kicked, like Jim Carrey and Liar Liar. I'm kicking my own ass. It's because we need something different. So with Jade, I feel like there isn't an equivalence of her that she can go against. That's part and parcel of the issue. And the other issue is that she's got this entourage, and you're like, this woman is 6'2". She's 212 pounds of solid muscle. She looks, moves, and acts like someone who has the physical advantage over 99.99999,999,999,999,999,000,000 of women. Yet she's still kind of a dastardly little heel and still kind of uses some outside interference every now and again. It's kind of like, what? Her being a face, I think, works better for what they're trying to do because she's just too big to kind of do what she's doing. And I feel like if you want her to get over, you got to do something different because it's been 320 days since she's won the belt,
yeah.
and I don't think she's gotten over at all. I think she is right now at the same place she was as she was in January, and that's an issue with booking.
Yeah, it's obviously she is better because I do remember when she first stepped on screen, but like you said, that get so much around that is like you said, presentation, kind of repeat moves. Like she's always the entrance and all that, and I always appreciate the what she's doing with the coming out with different creativity for the entrances for the big shows and whatnot. And the great upside of Jade is there's not much she has to do because she has so many things that other people have to cultivate. She has naturally, well, other people have to cultivate over years. But like you said, you got to do something to switch it up. Like I said, you're getting her matches and you're waiting unless she get against somebody like you said against herself, which made that match more watchable than the others because somebody like a Nyla Rose could at least compete with on the power side, to a degree. But you end up coming to her matches just waiting on two moves, and that's not good. It did that match even with what was going on with the return match for Saraya, they just had far more watchability. Saraya than the other title match. They just had far more watchability than her matches do because, like I said, you already know the fix is in. Unless you find a chick that's bigger than her, and then I don't even know if that's a chick at that point.
Well, I think what's her name, Alpha Female. She popped up in Impact a little bit, and then she was
Uh,
in WWE for a little bit. I think
yeah,
she's German. I think.
gotcha. Oh yeah, okay, I know who you're talking about. Yeah, that's
But I feel like the issue is even if you find someone who's as big, the issue remains the same. She's not someone who's going to have a great match with somebody like that because she's working the heel.
yeah.
I feel like, especially with Nyla, one of the things they should have done was really start to try to focus on turning Jade face. Because if you make her like this imposing silent type, I think you do limit some of the issues with who she is. Because as a character, she's very ordinary as a heel. Like she's not saying or doing anything we haven't seen or heard anyone do in the last 5 years as a woman. Very kind of copy paste. She's arrogant. She's successful. She's better than you. And it's like, all right, that works only so much. Once you get to a certain point, especially in a title run, you got to be more than that. And I feel like that's like, if you want a good comparison, I feel like that's what Josh Alexander's about to be going through because outside him being the worker guy, I feel like he's not providing enough as a character. So with Jade, I feel like she's either already into that kind of lockstep that others have been in, or she's about to be. Turning her face, having Kira and her other buddy turn against her, and then putting somebody like Nyla Rose into a position where you actually think she could beat Jade. Because I don't think, has Jade ever lost before? I don't think so.
No, I don't think so. And if she has, it's been on some kooky DQ or something like that.
Have Nyla Rose actually beat Jade, either by hook or by crook, and have her little buddies turn on Jade, and then basically you set up the scenario where Jade now has to overcome the obstacles, and now you're kind of like, all right, now I'm invested in this. And part of the other issue, like, even with booking her against Nyla, the problem is people don't like Nyla Rose. She's got a hardcore want to like yitis. Like people want to like Nyla Rose. They're afraid not to like Nyla Rose. She's not a bad wrestler, but she's not a good wrestler. There's only so much you can do with her, especially because she outweighs the division by 120 pounds on the regular. So like there's safety concerns with her. So it's like you're not even putting Jade against talent that people truly care about most of the time. Now sometimes yeah, but a lot of the time it's like Jade's getting the leftovers. And after a year, or more than a year, I think maybe 18 months at this point, of Jade being undefeated, rolling through everybody, it's like, okay, but what's next? She's either got to go to the top tier title, face your Britt Bakers, your Sarayas, your Jamie Hayters, or whoever's the champion, or she needs to lose, go back to training, and then come back in a year or two when you can rebook her and rebuild her as a top gal. But until that day comes, I feel like we're going to be stuck in limbo and just kind of watching the same cycle over and over and over again because Tony Khan is very secular with his booking. Like everything he does comes back to center. So it's like, are we going to get anything different with Jade? We haven't for 18 months, so why would I expect anything
Yeah,
different?
and to be fair, somebody who has a crush on somebody like a Kiera Hogan, that particular flunky spot hasn't benefited them, in my opinion.
No, she went from a budding, burgeoning star in Impact to another also ran in AEW. But that's typical, atypical. That's AEW for you.
And like you said, like what does she need the flunkies for when she can literally pick both of those chicks up and hurl them at people?
Now, if they like literally worshiped the ground she walked on in some type of like weird, obsessive Uber fan kind of thing, that would be interesting. Like have Jade just be so dominant that she doesn't need anyone at any time, but she keeps these people around because, and she can say something like very condescending, like it keeps me grounded, and like you just see them like throwing flowers in front of her and like kneeling in front of her, like when she's on like a chair so she can put her feet up on them. Like that would at least give her some depth to her character, other than I'm tall Sasha Banks.
Yeah, it's because it's not even that. It's like first season of Stargirl with Cindy,
Yeah,
with just
it's
hanging
just
with the
Mean Girl. It's
yeah, it's
generic Mean
hanging with
Girl.
yeah, it's hanging with the big strong hot bully chick, and it's like it's not benefiting that at all. Like it's, so like you said, they need to switch something up. And also another thing that happens, and I commend them for trying to like almost kind of making Rampage her show, but Rampage is on TNT.
They switch channels.
She's the TBS champion, and she defended or defends that championship more on Rampage, which comes on TNT. So it don't even come off like I guess it's TBS in name only.
Well, I hate the names of these belts.
Yeah, it's
They're the if I was in Tony Khan's ear when he suggests these names, I'd be like, Tony, can you stand up for a second? Back about 6 feet. Kind of like spread your legs like you're about to play catcher, and hold right there, and then I'm gonna kick him in the nuts because that's the stupidest thing he ever could have fucking done. Because now,
uh,
like you just pointed out, these titles are branded to these shows. So if you're not defending the belts on these shows, why do you have these belts on any show? You dunce cap. You human dunce cap. Speaking of human dunce caps, we got to talk about the super spreader, Chris Jericho. He took on and defeated Bryan Danielson, Claudio Castagnoli, and Sammy Guevara for the Ring of Honor World Championship. I didn't watch this match. I have to imagine that him and Sammy were in cahoots until they weren't in cahoots. And then you start to feel, will Sammy betray Jericho? Does Jericho even trust Sammy? Oh, and then there's probably some finagling bump where Sammy was going to attack Jericho, but then Cesaro Danielson got involved and accidentally allowed Jericho to get the win. Did I basically sum up this match?
some of it.
Damn it. I thought as
Good,
close as that
good
was.
four way. Good four way. Everybody looked good. They did the Jericho and what you calling this of it all. But it wasn't the ongoing story of the match. Jericho really had to fight to get in there. Because also all three of those other guys came to play, and that Judas effect is it's hit or miss more times miss. But Jericho when he wants to go out there, it's kind of like Orton, but far less annoying. When he wants to go out there and he has the ability to play all people well and wants to go out there and put on a show, he go with the best of them. So he fought his way to a win, earned it. I don't know where they're overall going with this all rate stuff. I feel like for some reason they're gonna eventually either do what NXT did with the UK brand and merge the stuff because now we got a certain person that's double belted, um, which we'll get to, or they're just gonna keep it going so they could keep other guys as champions in a way, and I guess not have to feel like they got to put them in the AEW world picture.
It's possible.
Yeah.
Jericho, if you go on stage and perform with Fozzy, you'll kill us all. Then so be it.
Man.
I become the super spreader.
Chad, you just caught the COVID.
I already did it once. No, thank you. No, thank you. My ass barely got through the first time. I ain't looking for a second round. See you later, super spreader. Speaking of second rounds, Saraya is starting her second arc of her career. It's weird because I don't even think she's 30 yet. Like she just turned 30. She's just turned 30, and she still can't live down. Paige here. What was that even, guys? Like, what were you trying to do with that video? She defeated Britt Baker. I don't care about Britt Baker. I don't think anyone actually cares about Britt Baker. I think people think they care about Britt Baker because she's dating Adam Cole. She's one of those women that, I always point out she doesn't really have any athleticism. She's not a great promo. I think she's super popular backstage, and she knows the right people, and she gets the benefit of the doubt because, as Cody Rhodes said, he believes in nepotism, and I believe she's a byproduct of the nepotism that is AEW and the Elite. And it's not just women. Like, there are a lot of dudes like Adam Page, who I think are mid as hell. Just C-tier talent getting a push because of who they know. Britt Baker and Adam Page go hand in hand in that regard. Probably go hand in hand in other regards too, because Adam Page is no longer around. Wonder what his girlfriend's doing whenever he's not there. They're not married yet. For all these years, kind of makes you think. I don't care if this match was good. Just tell me if Saraya looked good to you after 4 years off, 5 years off.
She's still rubbing off ring rust, which she admitted to on Twitter. Look, it's 5 years. That whole situation. She could have ended up in far worse of a scenario with that whole situation. It's definitely been a journey for her. And you could tell I give Baker and Cole credit. They are unselfish workers in terms of what they do in the ring and not necessarily being afraid to take L's or lay down when it's just it works for fits the scenario. Neither performer really do anything for either us, but she did a very good job at trying to very much be aggressive and take it to Paige while obviously protecting her and being careful with it at the same time. Because it is a very sensitive thing, and that was kind of still with the match. Her taking her first bump, obviously, narrative wise, it made sense for Baker to go after the neck and stuff like that. So, to me, Paige looked decent. Like I said, she got some ways to go because it has been 5 years, regardless of whether she's been training or not. We always had a conversation. There's a difference between being ready and being ring ready. And a lot of that kind of comes through you getting back into these matches. So she looked fine. She still got some ways to go, but I do appreciate the fact that she went out there with somebody that wasn't looking to go into business for themselves because that could have went left. So yeah.
Very true.
Yeah.
Ain't she great? Saraya, back in the ring. Speaking of ain't they great, let's talk about ain't he great. That's Jeff Jarrett. J to the E to the double F. JARRET.
You talking about somebody also staying in shape. Like, how old is Jeff?
50.
Yeah, man. He got the body of a maybe early 40-year-old or something to that effect.
He's got that lean cuisine diet. I understand I missed a match, but we'll go back to it after this one because I already transitioned in. You know me. Can't
Yeah.
can't go back on a transition. I like this match. This is a fun little match. Sting and Darby Allin got their stuff in. There was a great spot where Jeff Jarrett El Kabonged Darby Allin with the guitar. I'm a sucker for the guitar. I hate the fact that Michael Graham, who is just one of the most repugnant, just rude malcontents in pro wrestling history, labeled Jeff Jarrett as somebody who didn't draw a dime because that's just factually untrue. Because Spike TV saw so much value in Jeff Jarrett that they literally said, "We'll put you on TV, but you need to be champion." So yeah, Jeff Jarrett draws. Maybe he doesn't draw like John Cena or Hulk Hogan, but he draws. So I'm a fan. I'm a fan of this match. I'm a fan of these dudes. I wish Sanjay and Satnam Singh were in the same place that Ozzy Newsome is in the not Ozzy Newsome. Ozzy Smith is in that Simpsons mystery hole where Ozzy Smith is just twirling around into eternity. Just push him in there because I don't ever need to fucking see him again. Like, Jesus, why is Satnam Singh getting airtime? I mean, my God, you would think that AEW with the money they have, the resources they have, could get a developmental going. Like, call OVW, like, yo, can you use Satnam Singh for a year and maybe see if he's worth having? Please, pretty please. The Factory is a group of wrestling trainers and their students. You couldn't send Satnam Singh to the factory every day. That's not TV, or every day including TV because he doesn't need to be on it. I mean, come on. I'm just saying. Mark, did you like this no DQ Sting Darby Allin v Jeff Jarrett Jay Lethal match?
Man, it's hard not to watch Darby and Sting do their thing and not enjoy it. And Jeff was in rare form, classic Jag fashion. And always been a fan of Lethal, so that was a good. So like you said, I could do without the big guy. Who that's why we see him. It's so rare that we get guys that size and that they just they're there specifically in opposition to guys like Darby because Darby's gonna come diving off stuff and. Because did I send you that video of Darby diving out and then he just crashed into that big dude?
I think
Oh my
so.
God. Yeah, and then somebody edited the way they made the squeaky toy sound when he hit him.
Yeah, yeah.
That's it. But that's what he's there for. You're gonna see more as long as Darby's involved because they can meme and gif it to death. But yeah, it's Darby and Sting pulled out the win. It was this cool spot that kind of got botched because Sting couldn't hold it, where it went for the lethal injection and Sting caught him mid and kind of stumbled into the Scorpion Death Drop.
Well, he
Um,
is 62, so it's like,
yeah. I mean, it was a good thing, but yeah, Jared bonged what you call it, but it ended up with a nice Scorpion Death Drop with a coffin drop to follow it. So. I think Sting talked about like one of the reasons why he came there was, looking at a guy like Darby. And I think obviously, like I said, he's got to be the best booked legend in the business to me with the stuff that he's done, the way that he goes. And I think he's been obviously looking back on Darby's career years from now, he's going to be somebody that was immeasurable for what he did for this kid, for the future. So,
speaking of the future, Wardlow and his stupid ass TNT title.
fake Tista.
Fake Tista. Oh, God. Wait. What's that website? Wish Tista.
Where's Tista?
Mom, can we get Batista? No, we already have Batista at home. I'm sorry, but Wardlow is so fucking uninspiring. Ugh.
And it doesn't work when he's sandwiched between Joe, who already is, we know his history, and somebody like Hobbs, who was oozing potential.
Yeah, unfortunately for Hobbs, potential gets you fired. So, like, we need to see something out of Hobbs. AEW needs to do something with Hobbs. Like, there's like 10 guys I wish AEW would just release and, like, let me build a promotion around so I can be like, this is how you fucking do it, you plebs.
God, this is why I would wish Lucha Underground to the right. 'Cause somebody like Dan Houser would be a goddamn menace. Specifically if he had Dario Cueto's old GM spot.
Oh, that would be great.
And then, but then, yeah, obviously, I can imagine your 10 guys, but you can rattle them off because I feel like we've gone through these matches, we've kind of said it.
Yep. Marcus, how did you feel about this triple threat?
It was cool. Obviously, I'm glad Joe got the win. Two belt Joe. Um,
Joey with the
yeah,
good
it was.
belts.
But yeah, I'm always gonna find myself rooting for Joe one way or another. I get Wardlow. He's another big hulking athletic guy that can go for the power bombs and then pull off some flippity do that off the ropes and shock everybody. But he don't do anything for me. Somebody like Hobbs is interesting, but Joe got just like I said, Joe has a presence that most people never develop, even in a damn near going on 20-year career. So yeah, them putting it on Joe choking people out, Joe muscle bustering people, which I don't even think he pulled off in the match. But yeah, I'm never gonna complain of putting Joe in better positions. So
Here's hoping they do something with Joe and Ring of Honor because, like you mentioned before, it seems like they're just not doing anything with Ring of Honor. it,
Yeah.
it's here's the thing that kind of baffled me. They've never ran a house show before, have they? AEW.
AEW, I don't. Probably not, because I mean that's interesting because they feel like they're traveling more, but they aren't doing house shows. Oh, these are either rampages or dynamite or the big shows. So I know I don't think they run a house show. I have to look it up, but I don't think so.
And like the Rampages aren't even always live. That's the thing that kind of baffled me. It was like a lot of AEW stuff that's filmed after Rampage or filmed after Dynamite isn't always live. So
No,
I
you're right.
kind of shocked about that.
Yeah.
So then we got Jamie Hayter. She defeated Tony Storm. Kind of feels like Impact Syndrome here. Tony
Mm.
Storm joins, wins the belt right away. Then Jamie Hayter wins the belt. I gotta imagine Jamie Hayter's about ready to lose the belt to Thunder Rosa because Tony Storm didn't want to do the JOB. And then either Tony Storm or Jamie Hayter will leave for the WWE. That's my prediction for the next 3 months.
Mm. That's interesting. I didn't know that Tony Storm didn't want to do the job.
No,
Um,
I'm thinking out loud. I don't
oh,
know for
okay.
a fact,
It's
but
just
like
interesting because
a
yeah.
lot of people don't like Thunder Rosa at the moment, and I think Tony Storm may have been one of them to say something about like either like defend the belt or relinquish it. So like she's not happy about it, and like AEW talent they don't always tweet in kayfabe.
So is Rosa having a Tesla thing, or she's actually injured right now?
I If you were to ask me, I would say she's probably injured because like Thunder Rosa has never kind of come off as that kind of woman. But I don't know. Like we always say, even though we're fans of Thunder Rosa, we always say if there's smoke, there's fire, right?
Yeah,
So like part of me thinks that it might be a Tessa belt situation, not a Tessa spitting in the face of black people issue. Because
yeah,
Tessa's got a lot of issues. We want to be
so,
clear on which one we think this is.
yeah,
Because Tessa didn't want to drop the world title when Impact stupidly gave it to her.
yeah. Which is that yeah, that's a whole. I was watching a video on just that whole trajectory of her, just a whole background of when it inevitably led to her own demise, which was really interesting because I never knew what happened when she eventually went to WoW, and then I'm like, wow, she freaking got in the backstage crap there. Like, God, Jesus. Um, but yeah, with this hater situation, it's interesting because the crowd wanted her to win,
I didn't
and
realize
but
Jamie Hayter was so popular.
me either. Me either. She just to me she was just always the sidekick to on side of
Britt,
freaking
right?
Baker.
Yeah.
Yeah, Brett, and then obviously that's next. Obviously next to Rebel, but Rebel is fully accepting and you know willing in that role. But Hater kind of felt out of nowhere to me. But apparently she's been building up a streak, and fans have been growing to love her to the point where this date she ended up kind of having a claim type of thing here, where the crowd was just fully behind her. They sold the story. The overbookedness of it actually helped the match, and she came out with the win. But it's interesting, and I think even Sean Spears came out. I mean, tweeted about it. He was like, "I'm kind of over this whole interim crap. Either you're the champion or you're not."
Agreed.
Because and somebody else pointed this out when I was watching them review the show. They was like, it's kind of difficult to really go in on that because it's like, what happens with the historical context? Do you make Tony Storm a former women's champion, or she's a former interim women's? Like, how do you do that? So, like you said, the Thunder Rosa thing, your prediction could happen, or it could be a thing where because Britt is who she is, and even though she was there for a friend in that moment and helped her get the win, are we gonna see a Triple H turning with the Evolution turning on Orton thing here? You know?
Mm, that's interesting. I didn't think about that.
Yeah.
Who's the little tiny wrestler girl?
Tiny wrestler girl. Um, who are we talking about? You're not talking about Rio.
No, no, no. She's like 5 foot nothing. She's like an amateur wrestler. She comes out in like a singlet.
Who was it? I feel like I know who you're talking about.
She took on. I know she took on Jade for the TBS title.
Okay. Mm,
Well, I found a Sportster article that should help. Tallest Britt Baker at 5'7", shortest Penelope Ford at 5'4", tallest Nyla Rose at 5'7", shortest Leva Bates at 5'2", Chris Statlander at 5'9", Yuka Sakazaki at 5'2", Austin Kong at 5'11".
I
This is a
know who you're
good
talking
list.
about. She felt like a baby compared to her. Who was this little girl?
This is an old article because I don't even remember who the hell Mel is. Who the hell's Mel? Is it,
Rekata.
is it Layla Hirsch? Is that who I'm thinking of?
That might Layla.
Yeah,
It
that's who
might,
I'm thinking
yeah,
of.
Layla Hirsch. Yeah.
Yeah, she's 4'11". I think that's who they should be investing time into, but whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah, but
So you brought up how do we do interims? Okay,
yeah.
so um, this is how Bellator, because they had recently a interim title. Um, Ryan Bader won the heavyweight title after Vitaly Minakov forfeited it after not defending it for nearly 1,000 days. Kind of a dick move there. Bader won it in 2019, and he's been champion since 2019. But he got caught up in COVID. Like he didn't defend the belt at all in 2020. And then he was in the light heavyweight Grand Prix. So because he was so inactive in the actual division, because he was actually at the time a two weight class champion, he held both the light heavyweight and the heavyweight belts. So because they weren't going to ask him to relinquish one because he was constantly fighting, just not necessarily for the heavyweight belt or defending the heavyweight belt, they had an interim champion in June of last year in Valentin Moldavsky. He defeated Timothy Johnson for the interim title. And then in January of this year, it lists, not it lists, but Bader defeats Moldavsky to unify the belts. And if you look at the title, you'll have the first ever champion Cole Conrad, then Alexander Volkov, then Vitaly Minakov, then Ryan Bader, and then all those names have like Cole Conrad is 1, Volkov is 2, Minakov is 3, Bader is 4. But then when you get to Moldavsky, it's just a dash, and it says defeated Timothy Johnson for the interim title. So had he won, I think it would have been 5 Valentin Moldavsky, and then it would have said defeated Ryan Bader to unify the belts. And I feel like until they unify the belts, I don't think either of these women will be officially recognized as a AEW women's champion. They'll just
Mm,
be acknowledged as interim champions. So like you're really just spinning your wheels here. So
mm.
it's no good for anyone. It doesn't help anyone.
Yeah, and if what you said is true, they might be leaning towards being on potentially the outs with Thunder Rosa. So they either just might have her bring the belt back and make Hayter the official champion, which may feed more into potentially her being betrayed by Britt, or they could bring Thunder back and have her drop it. It could go a lot of different ways, but I'm hoping they wouldn't be on the outs with Thunder. But I mean, like we probably didn't think all this would be gone from NWA, but that's the thing now. So it could potentially be a gift for Impact. Let's say that.
We'll see about that. The Acclaim defeated Swerve in Our Glory after I think it was Keith Lee left.
Yeah, Swerve. Swerve wanted to swerve in the match, and Keith wasn't having it. Swerve's patience ran out with Keith over these number of weeks and months. He slapped Keith, which I don't know why he thought that was a good idea. And Keith was like, "Okay, you know what? You got it. You finished the match." And he got finished in the match.
So that means they claimed one, got their belts back, or already had their belts back. I haven't been following this at
Yeah,
all.
they were the claim retained. Yeah.
And then, well, no, I mean, like they had their actual belts. No, it was the scissors that they lost the rights to. That's what it was. So there's that. I miss the Ass Boys though. Miss them. Miss Danhausen making fun of the Ass Boys. Missed Billy Gunn corpsing every time Danhausen was with his sons.
Freak. Oh he was breaking them like they're doing with Sami Zayn's doing with Jey Uso. Love it.
Well, like that was like before Danhausen signed with AEW. He was constantly harassing the Ass Boys. So like whenever he would see them at conventions, he would roll up to them. Oh, it's the Ass Boys, and then you'd hear Billy Gunn off camera going, "Ass Boys, I like it." So like it was like a long running joke that they brought into AEW eventually. Speaking of a joke, MJF defeated John Moxley when William Regal turned heel. I mean, AEW fans really like mid-tier talent, so like here you go, you got your mid-tier guy. Yeah, you can cut some interesting promos sometimes, but like, whatever. I haven't seen one MJF match where I'm like, oh, that was a banger. Speaking of which, we need to. I think next week we're not going to do a show because we need to sit down and talk about our year-end awards.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm right there with you. I mean, I don't like the kid as a face. Don't like him as a heel. Never watched any of his matches. Said it was a banger. He looks to have gotten in more toned up shape in terms of also aesthetically. But I just don't care about this kid. I get it. He's great on the mic. He's a great A hole.
Hmm.
But this is the wrestling business, and a lot of guys are like that anyway. Um, Certainly we've come to find out in these last number of years. But yeah, I wouldn't have went that way, particularly with Rico, because I think the Blackpool Fight Club is something you could really stick with and that people like. But also logically, I don't think they will. You could have Moxley lose straight up to this kid either. He's not gonna out tough Moxley. That's not a thing.
No.
So they had him go out in a way that was believable. And obviously now it's like he obviously wouldn't have won the match without Regal. And now we're gonna have to. And I guessing the potential logic is Regal went with the younger horse. Um, but we'll see. Like I said, it don't do nothing for me. Everybody and their mama seem like they over the moon with it. But yeah, So, but I mean, how long have they been kind of calling the fact that the kid was gonna win the belt? Now, it kind of seemed like since the company first started. So. Whether it was gonna happen now or down the road, it was gonna happen.
Yeah, they telegraphed this just like they did the Adam Page title win.
Yeah.
So it is what it is. Um, Overall thoughts on the show? Anything you want to add before we move on?
No, overall thoughts on the show had some watchable stuff. I thought they did good with the time that they had. It didn't feel like they did two back-to-back Lord of the Rings movies or something. But yeah, solid show. But they still got a lot of issues they need to fix, and like you said, that interim thing is really just one of them.
So let's talk about another promotion that has kind of been in the doldrums. Kind of exists at this point to piss me off. Let's talk about the NWA. So recently, Medusa has come out and basically said that she isn't happy with the way Aldis is going about doing business, and she may have a point, but we'll talk more about that here in a second. She says the one thing that Nick forgot, I feel, is that it wasn't his company, said Medusa on her Trash Talk with Medusa series. Oh, get it? Because she threw a belt in the trash? If there was some animosity between Corgan and Aldis, it should be kept personal. I feel airing your dirty laundry out in public when you have a real deep personal thing or belittling something I've learned in the past myself is not the thing to do. It's not the place to do. Especially nowadays, this time today, is that if I were somebody in another federation, I definitely would be taking notes on how he handled this publicly. This is something you and I touched on. Would he do this to me? Yes, he absolutely would. Would he do this to my company? He has done it to more than one company before. I'm not saying he was right or wrong about his feelings and his right. He has every right, and his feelings are correct however it is. But the narrative to push that and just absolutely call it toxic and stuff, this is where I'll stop. I'm there and I don't see it toxic. I don't. It's not toxic. I wouldn't be there. So I don't know how often Medusa is there. Because like I don't remember Medusa being hired as a backstage person, and I know she's done some stuff with the NWA, since they relaunched, but I don't know. Marcus, do you feel Medusa may have a point in the way all this is handling it? Granted, Billy Corgan is handling it just as bad. And do you think that maybe Aldis might be over suggesting the toxicity of the brand?
I think it's one of those things where one begets the other. I think we've always seen Aldis be a businessman in a lot of ways. Sometimes probably more so than a wrestler. But obviously, I mean, look, we talked about it last week or week before last. It can't be debated what he did for the company. He literally put the company on his back and did a lot of stuff. I was watching like almost 40 minutes of an interview, no, maybe an hour and something, and it was on Sam Roberts' show. So make that for what you will. But he was very candid and open about like talking about a lot of reasons why he left is because the company has turned into something that got away from a lot of the principles of why it started to get back popular in the first place. Saw a lot of gimmicky, unnecessary, cartoony stuff, and and I don't even think he mentioned the tire stuff of it all. And that was that growing uh fungus was enough to take me and Chad off the thing. So it's like, and that's with other stuff involved too. But um, I think from a Medusa's perspective, she just has a particular mindset about the business, old school type of deal, where she thinks things need to be handled and done in a certain way. And I can understand the perspective of keeping personal stuff uh, behind closed doors. But if Corbin's gonna come out and say something, then Nick has the right to defend himself and tell his side of the truth as well. Like he talked about in the interview, like he did a lot of stuff that was not necessarily his job, but he did it, for the good of the business and company. Like he did a lot of that 10 pounds of gold stuff himself, and wasn't getting and didn't get paid to do it. He did a lot of stuff behind the scenes that wasn't necessarily his job, but he got asked to do it. And certain conversations that he had sitting down with Corbin, um, that was not necessarily the best, but he kind of went along with because again, it wasn't his company. Ended up kind of getting flipped on his head, and they ended up kind of coming back to him to ask his advice, and he was like, "Look, I'm not like if I say putting the belt back on me will be the best business, then you're gonna say I'm going into business for myself, but nobody wants the belt on Tyrus, or why you having it taken off me, and then don't have a direction for it to go with the new guy and stuff of that nature. Like you seemingly said Corbin, the things got worse the more hands-on Corbin got, and I think you would agree with that.
Yeah.
And a lot of positions that you just seen stuff going, it just wasn't fruitful anymore. And because I think communication was breaking down with him and Corbin, he said he had a great deal. Obviously, wasn't making the money that he could in AEW, WWE, but he had a very lucrative deal in terms of it being fair. But when stuff is being handled poorly and business wise, and so much of that stuff can come down on you because essentially he was the face of the brand, it's not conducive. So I think a lot of the stuff that Corbin is coming out and saying, Magnus kind of would be dumb not to defend itself because a lot of the stuff is not necessarily true. Some of it is protecting. Can't believe I'm gonna use this word, a narrative. But I mean, can you can you really crap on Magnus? I mean, this man is going in. He's going all in with Tyrus as the head of his company.
It
Like,
it
yeah,
it really does paint a picture of who Corgan is. But there's so much more to Corgan beyond just the wrestling aspect. Like the way he treated people with, when he was with the Smashing Pumpkins, at least the original core. The way he treats media, the way he treats people in the wrestling business. Like he's not liked. Like think about how many promotions are in cahoots with one another. Like Impact has two deals with New Japan and AEW. AEW is working with Noah and New Japan. New Japan's working with Noah, WWE Impact. Every this is a polyamorous company, right? Like we are a polyamorous fucking corporation. Nope, that's not the right word. The sport, nope. Activity, maybe closer. But this whole thing that is pro wrestling is so poly at the moment. And I don't like it in a relationship sense, but in a professional wrestling sense, I love it.
Yeah.
Everyone's working together. Everyone's working together. Like, you'd have to be a real tool bag. Like, even MLW's working with people. But you'd have to be a real tool bag to not have any of these major companies working with you. Like, MLW's worked with Impact before. They're working with Noah. But the only people that are working with the NWA is right now MLW, and that's out of necessity because the only time that MLW has worked with the NWA is with Davey Richards because they didn't have anyone, they didn't have any shows to book people on, and they have obligations to get guys X amount of dates per year. And I think that's why Davey Richards ended up doing a couple spots for the NWA because they needed to get him his dates. So when you have basically no one wanting to work with you, you have to ask why. Like, why is the NWA the only promotion that isn't really getting any love at the moment? Like, they got a lot of love last year when they did the NWA Women's Show, but now nothing. Why? Well, if you're being honest, it's because of Corgan. Now, I don't know if that means it's toxic or not, but it does mean that Corgan does have a lot of issues as a boss. This is not new. No one should be surprised by this. As far as Aldis, I do believe Aldis starting all this was definitely in the wrong because this started with all this insulting the promotion's booking. And I do agree with Medusa that if you're going to work for a company and spend the years that you spent there working, don't burn the bridge on your way over it. Like, yeah, you're on your way out. That's fine. But there was definitely more than just him saying, I'm leaving in January. And that's why they got suspended. No, that's not the case. He insulted the quality of the product, and then he announced that he was leaving in January. Now he did make a comment against Tyrus, basically saying after he won the belt, after Tyrus won the belt, that this was part and parcel why he's leaving. He also mentioned that some of the gimmicks are why he's leaving. Like there's this James Mitchell faction. I forget what they're called, but they have a character in the faction who's like something gimp. And he's like a sadomasochistic dude wearing a gimp outfit, and he named him by name, like when he was talking about characters he couldn't stand in the promotion. So it's basically a lot of mudslinging, but just because it's mudslinging doesn't mean there isn't some honesty in that dirt.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and like I said, it might be better if Corbin wouldn't Corgan wouldn't come out and like I get it. It's your promotion, um and stuff, and you feel a certain kind of way, and what you call it feels a certain kind of way, but everybody, they have the right to express themselves. Like I said, with Medusa, I feel like she, in her mind, I mean, she's not saying they can't say nothing. No, Nick can't say anything. It's just for her, it's keeping stuff behind closed doors. But so much stuff is kind of, broadcasted now. Like we talked about how horrible Khan's been on Twitter. Um, and like of all of the things you shouldn't take away from Vince, like he was never on Twitter unless it was absolutely necessary. He didn't go out and tweet. Of course, to be fair, he did enough stupid stuff behind the scenes. Did not really have to tweet, but yeah, you would like to see something better, like you said, him taking shots at the promotion and stuff. But I think the reason why he's so adamant about speaking on it is because it's so obvious.
mm-hmm.
Like the promotion has left, the fans have left the promotion in droves. Hell, people have left the promotion in droves, and you got this big Contosaurus Rex as your champion. And like I said, if there's anything that personifies what the NWA has become, it's that clip of him, I guess, doing a roll through off the top rope.
Yeah, it's him taking two steps off of the middle turnbuckle and beefing it.
Yeah, and it's just that's kind of what it is. So I mean, like I said, the glory days feel like when we was watching on YouTube when it was into the fire. Like when your glory days consist of Cornette being mildly racist on your program, it's you got a different kind of problem right now.
Now that Trash Can is totally set on fire, and the NWA is a dumpster fire. Speaking of dumpster fires, Kenny Omega. I don't think I've seen a dude lose more credibility in his life as fast as Kenny Omega has. Love it. Need more of it. We're going to talk more about him next week because the whole fans picking the elite debacle really does highlight that fans are fickle and they need to be exposed. But Kenny Omega is going to take on Will Ospreay for the IWGP US title at Wrestle Kingdom 17. It's a big deal. This is the first time, and I think they said 4 years he's going to be back. I think his last match was against Okada in the main event. Although don't quote me on that. It may have been Jericho. I am interested in this match only to a certain degree. If Ospreay basically takes liberties with Omega and like breaks his jaw or nose or orbital bone or his soul, I think it'll be a good match. These two hate each other legitimately, and Wrestle Kingdom or New Japan smart to book them against one another. So I'm excited, only because I'm pretty sure the shots are gonna be stiff as hell. Does Omega returning to New Japan get anything going for you?
Yeah, I mean it's intriguing. Like I said, I hadn't been back for a while. Obviously, I think whatever happened after All Out, and him and the Bucks getting suspended, I think only aided him and getting more time off the heel from everything that he had went through. And he came back looking good. So and to be fair, I wouldn't want to go against even. You ain't got to like the guy, but I would not want to go against somebody like Ospreay anything less than 100%.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean, look, you come back, you got to come back big, and that's a money match. You got to like either guy, but it is a money match, and for that U.S. strap. So we'll see how it goes, but I do think that is something that'll make people check in to New Japan. Not that they need something to check in for. I mean, they got enough good stuff going on. Kudos to them for their continued American expansion. But yeah, I'll check that out.
By the way, can we talk about the black magic that Hiroshi Tanahashi's practicing? Because I'm pretty sure Shota Umino is just Hiroshi Tanahashi.
He got a hotline to Angela Bassett. I'm telling you, he got a hotline. All he got to do is cut his hair and lose a couple pounds, and it's like, who's the new guy?
Not even not like, man. I forgot what I was watching, like a hype video for the show over the weekend, the one with Muda, and they had Umino in I don't even remember, it was like a title match, and I'm like, oh, they're putting, I think it was like Umino versus Ospreay. I'm like, oh, they're putting Tanahashi versus Ospreay. This is gonna be a good match. And then I saw that Tanahashi was in a tag match with the Great Muta. I'm like, dude, who the fuck's this Tanahashi looking motherfucker? And then I realized it was Umino. But the thing is, like, the last time I saw this dude, like, his hair was short, it was black, it was a little bit more wispy. And now it's feathered, it's long, it's colorful. It's like, what? He's grown a goatee. Like, he's tanner. I'm just like, Jesus Christ. He walked into the Hiroshi Tanahashi tan machine.
It's just all different forms of dreamy with this.
If they don't have a tag team called the Boys with the Good Hair between Umino and Tanahashi, failed opportunity. Failed. So, all right.
Does somebody like Sonata? Does he still have that long bang swoop thing going on?
I think
Or has he
so.
cut it?
I think so, because he used to have it kind of like pumped up with like a front facing faux hawk, if that makes sense. I don't think he still has that though. I think he went back to a more his more traditional look, but I'm not sure. Speaking of traditional, it's become a yearly tradition for people not to be able to use Andrade Cien Almas correctly, and by that I mean by leaving his ass home, because I find no value in him as a wrestler. I said it. Fight me, plebs. Whenever anyone says, "Oh, they're not using so and so correctly," I go, "You mean the guy that can't cut promos that nobody cares about when he talks?" Oh yeah, I wonder why they're not using him. It's almost like pro wrestling requires you to be a good talker or have good talkers around you. That's why Josh Alexander's not moving the needle beyond, oh, he done good wrestle match. Oh, that's good. Yeah. You done good wrestle match, but Josh Alexander promo don't put me to sleep. So with Cien, it's like this dude has not succeeded in the United States outside of being a good hand. And like, if you like him, that's cool. Like, I'm not sitting here saying he's not a good worker. He's a great worker, fantastic, smooth as shit. But does anyone actually like him as a character? Like, you got to remember, like, this is a story. Like, we're telling stories. He's a character. You really think this character pops? I don't. I don't think he pops. I don't think he crackles. I don't think he snaps. He damn sure ain't I can't remember the cereal now. I was setting it up for it. And I
Rice
just
Krispies.
yeah, Rice Krispie treats. There it is. Just went right off the edge on that one, Marcus. I'm embarrassed for myself. But like, I don't see it. I don't see the star. And like, this isn't new. We've seen this scenario again where the internet really loves someone, and they get behind them, and then they give a good run, and turns out that their love affair was actually just that, an affair, and it wasn't real. Adam Page, I'm looking at you. And I feel like Cien is another one of these dudes. I feel like Andrade is just a dude who moves real well in the ring, but guys overvalue. I don't know if it's because of the collective overcorrectiveness of like the Latino World Order, where you had likes of like Juventud and Eddie Guerrero and Rey Mysterio, kind of just middling in a C tier stable, and now like any Hispanic wrestler that comes up has to be pushed to the moon because like we're still paying for the sins of 1999 or 1998. Like, is that the case here? Because like I don't know. I don't ever want to see an Andrade match in my life. Like I'm good. I'm hardcore good. Like most luchadors, most foreign talent that come over, they don't have the charisma to connect with an American audience. Now that's up to you to decide if that's fair or not. But a lot of these guys don't work. And like when you think about like someone like Mystico, when he came up to the WWE as Sin Cara, like that should have been the most slam dunk opportunity ever because the dude was on fire. I don't think there was a more exciting worker in the world in 2007, 2008. And I think he joined up in like what, oh 09, oh 10, something like that. So like you have all these dudes that you can bring into all these American promotions and they don't connect, and it's not always just booking. Some dudes just don't have the personality or the charisma to transcend some of these boundaries. Now some guys do, like Nakamura. Nakamura got buried because of booking, but when he came in, the dude didn't speak a lot of English, if any, but he had charisma for
Yeah, man.
days.
Yeah, man. He was next level, and they did a lot of he flopped a lot of under Vince's thing because that's just not a thing with him. He likes his uh Jinder Mahal looking guys, or however he felt about Theory
Talk
was the
about two fucking charisma vacuums.
you know um or somebody going back in time, somebody like a Mason Ryan build and talking stuff like that.
Oh no, that's a
So,
Stephanie guy.
oh, oof,
Yeah,
okay.
even worse.
Oh,
I need you to replace my husband.
oh God.
Maybe that's why he got the push.
Jesus. But yeah, the Nakamura, I always call Nakamura like the Michael Jackson of New Japan.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, that's what he was trying to be.
Yeah. So, but yeah, with Andrade, to me, he peaked because he was floundering in NXT, and then he kind of switched his character a little bit, put Zelina Vega with him, and he was hot, and I think that's when he peaked because he's not particularly the best with the English, um, but he didn't need to be because he had her. I thought they was a great pair, and then for some reason they separated them, and like a lot of NXT talents, they get called up eventually. Kind of just was middling. So, but I do think there's stuff you can do with them. It's just you gotta find some consistent quality direction. I feel the same way about Black. Um,
Yep.
you know,
Now, see, the with Black, and I feel like with when you mentioned Thea Trinidad, Zelina, I feel like her involvement with him raised his profile because she's very talented, very charismatic, but she's given nothing. And I think when Black started to finally hit, at least for me, was when they added what's her face, random blonde wrestler on
oh
AEW's
yeah,
roster seven,
yeah, gotcha. Is
Julia
that
Hart.
okay? All right, I'm about to say Anna Jay, but that's not it. Yeah,
Right,
Julia
like
Hart.
it wasn't even just like she's not a great promo by any means, but she came in with that fire look with the hat
Yeah,
and she looked like a blonde Wednesday Adams, and I'm just like,
like a
all
Carl,
right, no, I'll
Carl
convert.
San Diego.
Yeah, yeah, like a emo Carmen San Diego. Where in the world is probably at some gothic orgy? So let's just be honest about that. So I feel like when you surround people with the right accessories, not that people are accessories, but they are in terms of characters, you can promote them. You can build them. And I feel like one, Andrade has never really had that kind of sustainability. Like they put him with Roosh, who's another guy that needs far more than he's given in terms of like those accessories. And who's the other one that they have? It's not Teton.
It's,
Bandito.
yeah, Rouge Bandito, yeah, and yeah, Andrade, yeah.
Now Bandito's a guy who maybe isn't a charismatic dude, but he's got that look. Like you see
Mm,
Bandito, you're like, oh,
yeah.
has a look.
Hmm.
Andrade doesn't have that look. Andrade looks like every other dude. He's got a beard. He's got an undercut. He's mildly built. It's like, oh, okay. You're kind of like everyone else, I guess. That's something. And we always talk about this. Like you cannot be generic in wrestling and stand out. And Andrade is generic as shit. Like my goodness. Like you got, and even like his mask persona, like weak. You got like Pentagon over here with like the face paint and the mask and the skull suits and all. Like, it's great. And then you see like some of these other luchadors and it's like, oh, you're wearing a red mask with gold trim. I'll never forget that look. So I feel like Andrade really needs to find his look. He needs to find his gimmick. He needs to find his charisma. And just being Ric Flair's son-in-law, not really the ticket because Ric Flair's daughter couldn't ride that gimmick, and she inherited those genes. Andrade just fucked into him. So like, no, like y'all need to do some more work because I don't give a shit where you go, bro. If you go back to WWE, I'm still not gonna give a shit. You go to Impact, I'm gonna be like, ah, damn it, I have to watch you now. Like, not interesting. Just not interesting. Maybe one day he will be. Like, I always open that possibility up. Like, there are some guys that like, oh yeah, they found their gimmick, and then there are guys that I'm just like, why would you ever want to deal with them? Right now, CN is in the latter category.
Yeah, it's just, he fell into another one of those things where, the NXT people got called up, and obviously not everybody was gonna transition naturally to that roster. I mean, to the main roster. But I feel like he was another one of those things, particularly with Vega, where it was like y'all felt like y'all had to fix something that wasn't broken, and the guy suffered for it. So, like you said, we'll see. I know you're not just say a particular fan. I actually, akin to somebody more like Bandito, because there's a more mysteriousness to him, and obviously he can go. And then obviously there's the family tie with somebody like Roosh. But yeah, maybe they could bring those guys together and have them in I'll say this like a trio point off against them, the Death Triangle and uh the Kenny Bucks or whatever.
Kenny Bucks. Marcus, if you made Bandito into a face and made him into kind of like a Zorro slash Crow face, where he shows up, does like a little finger point, like a little gun finger point at whoever he's about to challenge, and like you don't see him again for 2 weeks until that dude is in a situation where like the bad guy's about to win, and then the lights go out and Bandito shows up with like a cape and a hat and his Bandito mask. Like, oh, that'd be so cool.
You just perfectly booked him. I also feel like that was like early tier suicide.
Yeah, but the problem was like Suicide had a terrible fucking bodysuit, terrible fucking name, and like Bandito doing like the finger pistols at somebody. Like that's dope. Doing the finger pistols to yourself, that's
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
dopey.
that's yeah. Then it's like, oh no, he's repelling, he's repelling, he's repelling,
He's
he's
unhooking.
he's repelling with oven mitts, and he's still repelling. Like it's one of those things. But I think that's the perfect way to book Bandito because you never really have to have him talk. Um,
He's the
but you
silent
also
defender.
yeah, exactly. But you also have that's another one of those things where if you start the fight, you need to finish it. Don't Wyatt yourself to death. You know.
Mm. You're
Wh-
you're you're not wrong on that one.
Which is quite interesting because now they got him going against Our guy. Yeah.
LA Knight.
Yeah.
Eli Drake. It's in the game. But yeah, that's how you book Bandito. You just make him a silent defender, shows up, steals from the rich, gives to the poor, wins belts, and the hearts and minds of men and women everywhere.
Kisses the ladies, but obviously it's innocent because he never pulls the mask up.
No, even better. It's like a hand kiss.
Oh yeah,
Like
yeah.
one of those respectful, like Antonio Banderas, like mandolin, like diddly doo, and then like just a kiss, and then like he flings his little fucking cape around, lights go out, and he's gone.
Or and this is trying to be non-racist as possible. Have like you'll see him like run off into the crowd or something, and then they just pan to a little boy with a guitar going dun dun
Ah.
dun.
All right, that's all we got for this week's show. Eric Bischoff thinks Tyrus winning the belt's a good thing, so you know.
He's Bischoffing again.
Yes, he is.
Eric's Bischoffing again. Speaking of being in the game, did you check out that new AEW trailer? Yeah.
Nope. Although I heard CM Punk was removed from it, so I thought that was hilarious.
The cover, well,
No,
he
in the
might
game.
have took him out the game.
Yeah. Which isn't
Man.
uncommon. It's happened before in other wrestling games. I just didn't think they would be that stupid, but yeah.
This is like Jazz, like take him out of it and make Danhausen playable.
Make Danhausen the face. If you put him on the cover, price it at $59.99
Ah!
and then just replace every character with a Danhausen variant, like Britt Bakerhausen, Adam Colehausen, Kenny Omegahausen, and then just delete Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks.
You gotta unlock housing forms for all the other characters. Actually, what they should do to kind of I guess offset the CM Punk removal of it all, and I don't imagine why they wouldn't do this. Make why am I forgetting the man's name? Make the Exalted One. Put him on the cover.
Luke Harper.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be a bad idea.
Yeah, I mean I think everybody would love that. I think obviously I think the family would dig it, and you can have I guess maybe some of those. Yeah, I would imagine Khan's been generous anyway, but I think people would love that. Make him an honorary or a character to unlock. I think people would love that because obviously he had a whole character and stuff before he passed on. So I think that would be a great way to, and I don't think anybody would have a problem with that either. So, but a total removal from a game, like you said, it's not the first time we've seen that, but he is being scrubbed from the server at this point. Like, yo.
I'm pretty sure the Ultimate Warrior was supposed to be in either Here Comes the Pain or the one right after that, like 2003, 2004. But for whatever reason, his stuff was in the game, but they ended up deleting it last minute. So, what are you gonna do?
Was that during that time he on those rants?
Probably. That dude is racist as shit. But and he's also homophobic as shit too. But we got an award now for him, so that makes him a good person. Yeah. Right.
Which he suggested go to actual people we don't see behind the camera.
Yeah, and they're not. They're going to the people they can prop up as social media darlings, as people they can be like, look how inclusive we are. We have a man in the wheelchair we're giving an award to. What has he done? Oh. Is he a producer? No. Does he work behind the cameras? No. Does he work as a director? No. Does he work in retail? Does he work in the concessions? Does he clean? No. He's just a guy who likes wrestling. That's a word.
In a wheelchair.
Yeah, in a wheelchair. That's all he is.
So what? He's a WWE Universal's equivalent to Lieutenant Dan. Get out of here, man.
Lieutenant Dan, you got new legs. That was the best damn fucking. All right, can we just take a second for a second? Lieutenant Dan goes to Vietnam. Hardcore racist. Loses both his legs. Tries to kill himself on a fishing boat. Or no, I'm sorry, on a shrimp boat. 5, 6, 7 years later, he's got steel legs, freshly shaved, and he has an Asian wife. That dude healed.
Exactly.
That dude healed in a lot of ways.
All because of Forrest, though. All because he was like, well, I could have off my set, but let me see if I can keep my bet with this kid who clearly has a greater grasp on life with less than I do. You know.
To be fair, Eric LeGrand is the Warrior Award winner, and he was a former Rutgers football player who got paralyzed. For context on who he is. But yeah, Lieutenant Dan, fucking turnaround, man.
I said I didn't like her anyway, Lieutenant Dan. She tasted like cigarettes. Ah!
Jesus. I love like dude goes from being a hardcore alt-right racist who hates Asian people because he lost his legs to them to being married to one. God. That's some
that,
that's some Sons of Anarchy shit right there.
that's wild. Yeah, Jesus, that's some Sons of Anarchy stuff. You ain't wrong. Like that. Yeah. There's so much irony in that show, along with the tragedy of it all.
Mm-hmm. Not wrong. All right, so that's gonna be it for the show. I gotta get some food in me before I go to bed.
Same.
RealNerdCorp.com, RealNerdCorp.com. You can find us on Twitter at NERDCORP. We're on Instagram at, no, we're not. We're on Twitch at Wrestling Underground, at twitch.tv/Wrestling Underground. We're on YouTube at The Wrestling Underground. I think it's The Wrestling Underground. It might just be Wrestling Underground. I don't know. Look us up. We're there. Mark's can be found on Twitter at ParadoxKid, ParadoxKid.
That's me.
You can also find him on his other podcast, The True Penny Show. They do a lot of international coverage, including Hexagon Wrestling. What's it called?
Gleet.
Gleet.
He said Hexagon. Like, where the hell is he going?
I wasn't trying to do a bit. I couldn't remember. I'm like, I know it's dumb and obnoxious. What is it?
I didn't stick my head out the car, but I'm like, I'm pretty sure this is not the way we're supposed to be going.
See, anytime I stick my head out of the car, I go, nah, bat dog.
Oh, that's a classic. I haven't done that in a while.
Dog's drool. What was it? Cat's drool, dog's drool.
By the way, that's like the perfect movie for like Freeform or something to air for Thanksgiving.
Oh God, yeah. God, yeah. That's because doesn't it culminate on Thanksgiving?
I want to say it does. That is, oh man.
And then they go back to San Francisco in the sequel and lose the pets again. Like, yeah, come on.
Like, how did you lose 3 dogs, like 2 dogs and a cat? You had
twice.
Them
and like, this is the dude from fucking Airplane.
Oh my God.
Have you ever seen that movie, Airplane?
Yeah. Oh man.
Best line. Shirley, you must be kidding. I'm very serious. Don't call me Shirley. So that's the ultimate dad joke, by the way. So yeah, check out his other podcast at The True Penny Show on Twitter. That's TruePennyShow. They cover Gleet, which isn't Glee by any means, nor is it Cleet, nor is it Cletus. Although, if you are looking for a movie recommendation, Tucker and Dale versus Evil, always a must watch. You can find me on Twitter at ChadNerdCorp, ChadNerdCorp, and on the Instagram at ChadSphoto, ChadSphoto. I'm pretty sure that's not right. ChadSphotohut. There you go. I can speak. We'll be back next Monday for another edition of the Wrestling Underground podcast. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for checking us out. Thanks for giving us a chance. We have no idea what we're covering next week outside of Kenny Omega. Because we're going to talk about why wrestling fans are fickle. Yeah. Hopefully I remember. I should take notes.
But because we probably won't be tuning in, you guys, until what, next Monday? Mm-hmm. Happy Thanksgiving.
Mm-hmm.
Stay strong. Turkey. Yeah, stay strong, all you 90s kids. It's been a hell of a week. And
we are going through it.
Yeah.
Rip to Kevin Conroy and Jason David Frank.
Amen.
The 2 characters I always wanted to have a crossover, I guess finally got one. Not sure if I enjoyed it or not. I don't know what they're doing though. Like they might be having the time of their lives, kicking each other like flip kicks. Dun, 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 dun. All right, we're done. We're out. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for checking us out. Thanks for giving us a chance. Remember, as always, watch more wrestling. And And Marcus, take us home.
Good night, me.